There's women who hasn't lost their beauty. They may still be single, but some women still do hold on to it. They still hold on to it.
But it's a small percent. Would you not agree,
Yep.
Ernest? I mean, not you not agree, JR. I don't know why I call y'all this.
Who you
You
call?
not agree, JR, that is a
Ernest.
small. It's not. You don't get it. You don't have the same. In men and women, you do not have the same options you had in your younger years. If for both, because I'm gonna tell you now, young women do not want you unless you're doing something for them. Unless you just got it like that, and it's a very small percentage of people who just got it like that as they age.
Yeah,
My issue with this, my issue with this entire discussion is the idea that somehow marriage is always benevolent, always long lasting, always forever. And this idea that dating is always flighty and it's always non-serious and always inconsistent and always comes with these negative desires. Every time one of you frame the argument, you frame it as though a person who's single is they must be fucking everybody. Like, there are people who aren't married who are in long-term relationships that are happy, which is why I gave the example of Oprah. We've never seen Oprah with anyone besides Stedman, yet Oprah is a billionaire. Stedman's also rich. She has a huge empire, and all of those things that you guys are saying that could only be achieved through marriage have obviously been achieved through other means. So that's what I don't get. I don't get the bias of why people who are pro-marriage tend to think everyone who's not pro-marriage has to have some nefarious intent. It's like, bro, like, people who aren't married still have capacity for love. They still have capacity to care. They still have capacity for loyalty. They still have capacity for honesty. People who are married still have the capacity for dishonesty. They still have the capacity for disloyalty, and they can still leave you. Just because you got married does not mean you will have a legacy, because you can still get divorced the same way a person who's dating can break up. So it's like you guys act as though marriage somehow is drastically different from dating when it's not. A marriage can end the same way a relationship can end. The only difference is to end a marriage, it requires a lawyer to get involved, and it requires a court to get involved. But the reality is, relationships work and relationships fail. Marriages work and marriages fail. And, it's like,
go ahead.
We have to come to the understanding. We have to come to the understanding and acceptance that just because your marriage worked doesn't mean somebody else's marriage is going to work, and doesn't mean that someone else's non-marriage isn't going to work. I'm gonna give you an example. There's a couple in my family. They were together for like 20 years. No problems whatsoever in their relationship. None. Everybody kept telling them, pressuring them, get married. You guys should get married. They listen to everyone says. What everyone says. They get married, they move in together. Their relationship falls apart and they're divorced within 5 years. Why? Because their relationship was perfect the way it was. It worked for them. But they were trying to elevate to the next level, like everyone was convincing them. They were trying to follow what society says is the right way to do it. And they ruined their relationship doing that.
How did you ruin? How would a person ruin their relationship? Because marriage didn't ruin their relationship. They did. Marriage didn't ruin their relationship.
I mean, okay, I guess you know them better than I do.
But how would marriage, the institution of marriage didn't ruin their relationship? They were both active parties in the downfall of their relationship.
What I'm saying is the restrictions and responsibilities of marriage did not match their lifestyle. It didn't match what worked for them in a relationship. Not everybody that has a relationship wants their relationship to function under the parameters, restrictions, and responsibilities of a marriage in order for them to have a healthy relationship. And that's the part that I'm just not understanding how y'all don't get. It's like the only way you guys can conceive of a healthy, positive relationship is by signing a paper with the government. And that has nothing to do with how two people relate to one another. It has nothing to do with it. So why do we have to stick to, you got to get that paperwork signed or else it's not real? It can be very real, paperwork or no paperwork. And a marriage can be very fake. Those are not mutually exclusive ideas, and you guys are treating it as though they are. That's why I feel like the conversation is disingenuous. But I'll end there.
Well, I will say this though, Clout, to dispute something that you said. Kim was speaking specifically to casually dating, and I will argue that majority of marriages last far longer than anybody in a casually dating situation. Casually dating means that on this week you may deal with this person and then the next week you may have a date with that person. That's not long-term relationship.
What about boyfriends?
But that wasn't what she was talking about. She was just talking about simply casually dating. She was speaking
All right.
specifically
What I'm saying is
about
there are
casually
people
dating.
there are people who casually date and then end up in a relationship and then they're in that relationship for 10 years. There are people who get married right away and their marriage only lasts 2 years. So what? So
But
then
but
which one's better then? Which one's
but
more
we're talking.
advantageous then?
But we're talking about somebody who is just out there just casually dating other people. It doesn't matter. Like you're trying to put a time limit on it. When I look at somebody being casual, that means that they from 1 week to the next is fleeting.
Yeah,
right?
but everybody that's not married isn't that. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Everybody that's not married isn't casual.
Even if that is the case, though, when you're casually dating, I have to position it this way: there's always another person on the other side of that, and your expectations when you're out there casually dating, by the way, doesn't always align with the person that you're encountering on the daily basis. And you encounter far more people casually dating than you would encounter if marriage was your end goal. Hold on, wait. You will encounter far more people when you're casually dating, which open up the chances for you to hurt far more people casually dating than you would hurt people when you're married. You don't encounter that many people when you're just marrying people, but you do encounter a lot of people when you're just out there bouncing for one.
That's not necessarily true. There's single people who are out dating that don't got no game, and then there's a married guy who cheats on his wife every weekend. You're making it seem as though cheating doesn't happen. Like cheating, like if we were to check the stats on cheating in the marriages that are still together, I bet you we would probably find almost half of the relationships that are still together, one of the partners is cheating. So that completely destroys this entire argument that marriage guarantees this loyalty and guarantees this togetherness.
I didn't say that. That wasn't my argument. That wasn't my argument at all.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, man.
And also, the average relationship outside of marriage only lasts 2 years. The average marriage lasts 8. And so you're literally encountering less people when you're married than you do.
How many people in college and people that are dating are actually filling out these stats though? Like these statistics that you're talking about. I'm not going to.
Oh, we can only go off of what we know.
Realistically, most people are in multiple relationships. I've been in multiple relationships in my life, and I've literally never been questioned on one of these. I've never been questioned by one of these. I've been in 6-year, 7-year long relationships before.
How long have you been in
my marriage? I've actually been when I was married. My marriage lasted 4 years. My longest relationship was outside of marriage, ironically. So it's like that's just.
It doesn't mean that, but you can only. The thing is that you can only go off of what we know. We can't keep saying, "Well, I believe." All we can go, I can only go off the stats, what is being recorded. Saying that there might be instances where there's other options, you may be right, but we can only go off of what we know. We know that the average relationship, when reported, only lasts 2 years. We know that the average marriage lasts 8 years. So we do. So all I can say is that we know
8 years ain't forever. 8 years ain't legacy.
But you're arguing a different point. I didn't make the point about legacy. I made the point that you're encountering far less people when you're in relationships for marriage and you're marrying, you encounter far less people than somebody who would just be out there casually dating.
There's no way to factually prove that. If I'm a social married person, I'm very social, I can encounter way more people than a less social single man.
Romantically, bro. Romantically,
as a married man,
that will make you a cheater.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is you're acting as though cheating doesn't happen. You're acting as if people don't cheat. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. People cheat, Sweeney. You're acting like once people get married, cheating goes out the window. Married people cheat.
Go ahead.
You want to bring up the numbers? You want to Sweeney, bring up the numbers of how many married people cheat. How many married people reported cheating? Let's bring those numbers up.